one of the things that I believe is good singing and good music is good music. And particularly with the Estill Voice Training of understanding we all have the same voice. Like I have the same anatomy as Luciano Pavarotti. I have the same anatomy as Justin Timberlake. So yeah, they might be able to do some things better, but it's the same voice. And so if we're wanting to sing certain styles, we can know like, okay, well, the larynx might have a slightly different position, the tongue might have a different position, the soft palate vein might have a slightly different position. So we're able to get a variety of recipes.
Welcome to the Choir Genius channel. I'm Tom Metzger. Today is our third conversation with Justin Miller, and we're going to talk today about going freelance, as he has recently done, and all the lessons learned and interesting experiences that he's had moving in that direction. Welcome back, Justin.
Thanks, Tom.
So recently, I know you've decided to move from being a school teacher, as well as many other things, but professionally a school teacher, to being freelance and to be making your money and your living from music. And I know there are so many people in the world who would love to make that kind of transition. So let's dive into it. How has that been for you? How's it going so far?
It's good. It's not great. It's not wonderful. It's good. And what's really great about it is I feel more myself. A quick discussion, insight into why I left the classroom. I got into teaching because I love choral music. I love music. I enjoyed conducting while I was in college. I thought the character traits that I possess would be good for it, but I didn't really want to. Like I thought I'd be good at it and I could be successful, but it was like, yeah, that seems like a good fit. Full disclosure, I when I was in high school and early college, I kind of struggled with depression and anxiety a bit. So at that period of my life, I was more focused on like getting well and getting happy and getting content rather than what is my career. So then fast forward however many years, and I kind of realized that although I was doing this job, it wasn't part of my identity, right? My wife, she's a third grade teacher.
Okay.
Being a teacher is part of who she is. She comes home and she debriefs her day and she tells me all about her kids, the pluses and minuses. And if a kid asks her, like, can you come to my softball game? If she can, she's there. Like, she loves what she does and it's who she is. And I did not feel that way about myself being a teacher. I'm a conductor, I'm a musician, I'm a leader in those things. And I could probably, list off a litany of other things that I identify with before reaching that of teacher. So I kind of felt trapped, particularly, and I'm sure people have heard horror stories or reflections from teachers of how difficult it is, particularly in this day and age with technology and kind of parental changes of the tide and how that's affecting student behavior and administration, being toothless in some areas of discipline and budget and all sorts of things. So it's hard. And so when came to the fact that it was hard and this did not meet my identity, then something had to give. So going back to your original question of how it's going, and I say good, the great part is that I'm feeling myself, is that I have the time to compose, which is something that I always wanted to do. I have more time for that. I'm doing a lot more a cappella, choral, even instrumental arrangements of things. Since I've gone freelance, I've arranged a big band chart. A friend of mine that says, hey, like you do arrangements, can you do something for big band? And I'm like, we're going to find out.
Yeah,
and it
maybe.
came out pretty good. So I'm a fan of that. So in that regard, I'm more myself. I'm able to be dad. Our past several years, we've had to pay an exorbitant amount of money for before and after school care from our kids because both my wife and I had to leave before the bus would pick them up and come home well after the bus would drop them off. And my kids are small. They're not kind of at an age where they can be latchkey kids. Mm-hmm. So I get to stay home and write music and be dad and give voice lessons and do things like this and mentor conductors, whether they be local or from afar. Now, the things that are not great is that, like any business, it's taking a while to grow and to market in an environment where social media is everywhere and everyone's trying to be an influencer and trying to wade through all of that to find an audience, whether it be locally or nationally or even globally, that will benefit from my services. That's a little bit harder. Now, I'm not poor. We're not starving. I'm making some money. I haven't yet recouped my teacher salary yet, but I'm confident that we can get there pretty soon. So that's how it's going.
Good. Can we back up a second?
Yeah.
Do you mind if I ask you a personal question?
No.
So you talked about being anxious, being depressed when you were a young person. I
Yeah.
find that that is a very common pattern for people with a kind of artistic temperament,
Hmm.
which I think you have. And so I think a lot of people would be interested to know, how did you get yourself into a better place, and just out of curiosity, was music a part of that for you?
Music absolutely was a part of it. Um, it was probably the main part. And going back to the teaching thing, um, I think a lot of young people that find success, it maybe was with the assistance of like a high school music teacher. Like a high school music teacher like brought them under their wing and kind of carried them through and everything. Not that I didn't have a good experience in high school with those teachers, but for me it wasn't that person. For me it was Mark Hale, the director of the Masters of Harmony, who, when I was 19, he saw something in me, and the in-house performance person for the Masters of Harmony, a guy by the name of Wayne Mendez, moved away, and so they needed a new person. And for whatever reason, he wanted me to do it. And this was at a point when I was still very much struggling with all this stuff. And him giving me that role, that um, focus, it really helped me. I'm very much a person that, this sounds weird to say, but I'm comfortable letting myself down.
What do you mean by that?
I mean, like, oh, if I set this goal, if I don't reach it, then who's going to be affected other than me? And
Okay.
oh well. In my life, that's kind of been the case. But I have an incredibly difficult time letting other people down.
Right. Yeah.
So when I was given that role of, now I have an ensemble of 120 men that I need to be responsible for. Not that I was the main director, because I wasn't, and I wasn't even assistant director, quote unquote, for several years later, which did happen, but it was way down the road. But I was responsible for making sure that they knew their choreography, that they knew an emotional plan for a song, and suddenly that ownership and that responsibility gave me purpose, and it gave me
Right.
clarity. Now, did that solve my anxiety and depression issues? No, that was consistent therapy over several years, um, where and it, what that kind of uncovered was, I was putting so much emphasis on what I thought, again, what I thought other people were thinking about me,
Oh, right. Yeah.
right? And so it required some training of, okay, you interpreted that look or what they said a particular way. Before you get all butthurt about it, can you spend 5 seconds to think what possibly could be going on in their life that made them act that way? There's a 99.999 repeating percent chance that it had nothing to do with you.
That's right. I love that saying that comes up every once in a while where as you go through your levels of maturity, eventually you realize people aren't thinking about you at all.
No, they're not. Like, why do they give me a dirty look? They weren't giving you a dirty look. They had something in their eye.
Yeah, that's right.
You just
Exactly.
happened to cross by their plane of vision. Yeah.
So thank you for sharing all of
Yeah.
that. Back to the sort of main thrust here. What are your next steps, do you think, in your freelance journey? And for people who don't know, what are the things that you do actually, and which ones do you enjoy the most?
Yeah. So the answer is too much. I'm doing too much. But the three areas of focus are composition and arranging. So, excuse me, doing choral arrangements and compositions. I have a very long queue for barbershop ensembles that are interested in my arrangements. But like I said, I've always also been doing big band things. I have.
Let me just quickly plug your arranging skills because I sang in a fun quartet International this year. We sang one of your charts called Sweet Pumpkin.
Yeah.
That was my favorite out of all the stuff that we sang. What a great piece of music that
Thank
was.
you. Yeah. Yeah. Not to toot my own horn, but I'm going to. Um, I, it the past several years that I've been a very, very active arranger within barbershop circles, my charts tend to be the highest scoring of the one they do, for whatever that's worth.
Not
Not
surprising.
much.
Yeah.
So anyway, that's the side of things. I also have like these um, uh, I have two ideas for actual larger choral works that I've been working on. The problem is there's such desire in my barbershop arrangements that I don't have time to get to the stuff that I want to do, which is a good problem to have. So that's one hat. The other thing is conducting, consulting, and coaching. So about a year ago, uh, a group reached out to me wanting some professional development for their director. He was a high school music teacher. Didn't have like a conducting degree, just a music ed degree. Had a little bit of conducting training in college, but not a lot. And so they thought, well, we want to help him develop his conducting skills, so let's hire him a mentor. And so I was contracted to work with him for 8 months. Um, his name was Scott Perot out of Minneapolis, the Journeyman Chorus. They're
Okay.
awesome, and we developed a great relationship. He'd send me recordings. I'd critique his conducting. We'd Zoom every once in a while, about once a month, and do deep dives on all sorts of topics. Some of the things that I would see him conducting, some questions that he would bring to me for rehearsal planning, programming, all sorts of musical leadership stuff. And then I would fly out a couple of times to work with their group in person. And since then, there's a couple of other groups that I've started to work at. So that conducting and choral leadership coaching is another facet of what I'm doing. And then the third thing is voice lessons. So several years ago, in the high school teaching job that I just left, we had an all city honor choir. It was a fairly large school district with 6 high schools. We brought our best of the best together. We formed an honor choir of those 6 high schools, and we brought in a clinician. His name is Dr. Brian Winnie. He teaches at Western Illinois University, I believe, and he was the clinician for this honor choir. And he taught these students using a method called Estill Voice, a vocal method based on the research of a woman named Jo Estill, who was a classical singer in the mid 20th century. And my mind was blown because all this anatomical, but very succinct and very precise and very easy to understand language um, that I'd never heard of any of my training, whether it be my academic training in my undergraduate, my academic training in my master's degree. It just absolutely blew my mind. And so I've been trying to. I've since done several Estill trainings and working to become certified in Estill Voice. So that has kind of unlocked a passion in the individual voice that I didn't really have before. So I've been using some of those new skills. I've been doing voice lessons, both locally, in person, and digitally.
Like, can we talk about that? How do you find the difference between doing that locally, in person, and digitally?
I find them to be very similar because when we're in person, um, and this goes back to another topic, I think probably in episode one,
Okay.
um, of rehearsal pacing. Like when they're in the room, I almost feel this need to fill time and to move quickly. Yet, so there's that. But there's also some in-person benefits of being able to tangibly, ask permission and touch them and say, move this around. Oh, I sense some tension in your neck
Yeah.
or whatever. So there's some benefits there. The benefits of the digital is that they are in their own space. And because now, granted, we're not able to work literature necessarily digitally because of latency challenges,
Sure.
um, but I'm able to give tips and vocalises and give them a key center and then say, okay, sing it for me. And then they can do it on their own time. And then I can ask them to do it again, but observing what they're doing. And then I can ask them questions about what they're doing. And because they are in a space that is comfortable for them, I almost find it's almost easier for them to explore their own voice, their own body, those types of things, um, rather than whatever additional pressure of being one-on-one face-to-face might provide. So there's pros and cons to both, but I've found some success in doing it virtually.
Very cool. I know you're mostly, at least in my mind, you're mostly famous as a barbershopper. But if someone from the choral world or a children's choir or whatever reached out to you, would you be open to doing mentorship for them?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one of the things that I believe is good singing and good music is good music. And particularly with the Estill Voice Training of understanding we all have the same voice. Like I have the same anatomy as Luciano Pavarotti. I have the same anatomy as Justin Timberlake. So yeah, they might be able to do some things better, but it's the same voice. And so if we're wanting to sing certain styles, we can know like, okay, well, the larynx might have a slightly different position, the tongue might have a different position, the soft palate vein might have a slightly different position. So we're able to get a variety of recipes from our voice. And so I'd be happy to work with them. And certainly conducting, um, conducting is conducting. Whether that be something metered, something rubato, where maybe the conducting gesture doesn't need to be in a strict pattern. Yeah, I'd love to help out anybody and everybody that wants help.
And how can they find you? You got a web address or
Yeah,
something?
justinpmillermusic.com is the best way. It's also Justin P. Miller Music on Instagram and TikTok and Facebook and I think YouTube is also that handle. So Justin P. Miller Music everywhere where you can find me.
Fantastic. And we're going to link those things in the description of the video too.
Fantastic.
And that was episode 3 of my conversation with Justin Miller. Once again, if you enjoyed this, please like the video. If you want to see more videos we drop on this topic or one or more episodes with Justin, then subscribe to the video and press the bell icon.